Hello and welcome everyone, my name is Meepolis and this is Literally Graphic. And today I'm reviewing In Clothes Called Fat by Moyoco Anno. Warnings for sexual and unsexual nudity, emotional eating, bulimia, shaming during sex, workplace bullying, cheating, something like a sugar daddy thing, I don't know, and forced eating. One of the first josei titles I ever picked up. I think this book, for all its warnings, is a nostalgic reread for me. The one thing that really jumped out at me was how, despite everything happening feeling like the real world, this book felt like a horror title. I'm a bit on the fence if I would call it body horror. On the one hand, nothing feels monstrous or, quote, not normal, but there is a real recurring focus on starved and haggard bodies. So the body horror of the reality of society's obsession with thinness? I feel like this is not a special sort of insight, but what can I say? I don't feel like I caught onto this the first time I picked it up. Even without that realization, this book felt like a real game changer in my reading because I don't think I'd ever heard of josei before, and while I don't ID as a woman anymore and demographics are a bit full of shit, I really appreciate that this kind of manga exists. I'm even happier now that it feels like the translation of josei titles has increased. And moving away from this as a manga, but even as a comic book, this felt like something completely different from anything else that I had read up to that point. My background with this book aside, let's get back into the script and look at the creator's biography. Moyoco Anno has written a few manga series including Sugar Sugar Rune, Happy Mania, and Flowers and Bees, among others. The only one I'm kind of interested in picking up as of this moment, and that my library has, is actually Insufficient Direction, which is a memoir-like story about Miyoko's husband, Hideki, who created Neon Genesis Evangelion. Apparently, according to Wikipedia, she has been on a work hiatus since 2008 for health reasons. But in October, apparently, someone announced her manga, Memoirs of Amorous Gentleman, will be the first Japanese manga to be adapted into a Broadway musical. Interesting. Flipping over to the Goodreads description, from the pen of Moyoco Anno comes a stunning tale of self-image and self-loathing. In Clothes Called Fat, details the lives of young women, earnestly revealing the struggles women may have with their bodies and sexuality. Noko appears to be living a great life. She's got a good job and a loving boyfriend, but beneath a thin veneer is a young woman who is struggling with her self-image and self-confidence as she fights to keep her weight down. To Noko, being 5 pounds overweight means being miles away from happiness in her love life and in her workplace. The art style of this manga feels very quick and loose, similar to Erika Sakurazawa, if you've picked up her work before. I really think this art style, peppered with lots and lots of nudity I can't show, really reinforces the themes in the book. As far as gender and sexuality goes, this is a very cis-hetero book. That, among other before-mentioned comments, is a very good reason this is not a must-read by any means. That said, it does bring some struggles into sharp focus that are often brushed over that affect people of all genders and sexuality. To go down a bit of a tangent, in my original review, I highlighted the fact that this is a very woman versus woman book, with the caveat that 99% of the characters are women, so it didn't strike me as annoying. Usually women are at war with other women to generally divide them and preferences the heterosexual relationships of the story and or degrades what is considered, quote, women's concerns. That's kind of the opposite of what is happening in this story, as, quote, women's problems are being taken very seriously. And while heterosexual relationships are the assumed ideal goal of these women, the few men present are largely seen as tokens. Ideally, no one should be just a token, but I do think it can be productive to write fiction that sometimes turns reality on its head. Ability versus disability, in this case bulimia in particular, is obviously central to the story, and while I do think this book is anti-diet culture and does not set out to endorse bulimia, it doesn't feel like the portrayal of a genuine experience. It feels like fiction, which I guess is why I wanted to stress this realization of the horror elements of the story. Originally, I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I think I'm going to stick to that. Bye y'all, keep reading and resist white supremacy. And as always, Literally Graphic is created on land that should be given back to the traditional landholders, which in this case is, to my knowledge, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, non-Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation.